Okay, welcome everyone, and Merry Christmas Eve Eve, as my kids like to do the countdown. Okay, so I'm so glad you guys are here. Welcome to our Monday Night Community Connect. If you guys don't know me, my name is Brittany Raup, and Shannon Pyffer is going to be helping me out tonight. And I know it is 2 days before Christmas, so I knew we'd kind of be a small crew tonight, but I'm so glad you guys are on. And if you're watching the recording, I think this is going to be super valuable for you. We're going to be cozy tonight. So I literally said, like, come wrapped in a blanket if you want, or come laying in your bed if you want, because I would love to just kind of have like a fireside chat with you guys, and just imagine hanging out in my living room in the Pocono Mountains in Pennsylvania, and we're just chatting. Okay, we're reflecting on the year, we're chatting. This is not going to be like a get fired up and go do all the things kind of call, right? This is an invitation to reflect, and to slow down, and to take some time at the end of the year here to think back. Okay, so we are often so focused on just like producing, right? We're always moving forward, we're always going on to the next thing, that we rarely take the time to sit down and look back and reflect and like take that time before we plan for the next thing, right? But it is so, so important. High achievers slow down so that they can speed up. Okay, slow down so that you can speed up. You really shouldn't be planning for 2025 until you've sat down with 2024 and considered what went well, what didn't go well. And we're going to walk you through some really, really helpful tools for reflecting and for setting intentions. I've intentionally just slowed down the past 2 weeks, like got some things off of my plate and off of the calendar. And what has been so cool is that it has given my brain space to be creative. I don't know if you guys ever feel like this, but when there's just too much in your head and you feel like you're spinning, you just have zero creativity, right? There's just no room for any kind of creative thought. But just slowing down, I find myself like having good ideas and thinking about what I want to do in 2025 and how I want to grow my business. It's like, wow, I really needed to just slow down to kind of get my brain going. So I have all kinds of thoughts and excitement for the new year, but sat down and took some time to reflect. Okay, so what we're going to be doing tonight, Shannon and I are going to be teaching you a skill that we learned from John Maxwell. And I know you've been hearing a lot about John Maxwell lately, and that's because he is incredible and has taught us so many good things. I've been doing it for about 5 years, but this process is called a calendar audit. And I know Leanne talked about this book that I have right on my desk, 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth. I'm going to chat a little more about it later, but this is where I first learned this tool. So I've been doing the calendar audit for years, and it's something that John Maxwell does during the week between Christmas and New Year's. So we're coming up on that time. This is like the perfect time to do it. So Shannon's going to walk us through what this looks like. But as we kind of go through this call tonight, I want you to think of 3 aspects. So kind of think like a triangle with 3 sides. We're going to talk about reflection, intention, and expectation. Okay, so reflecting on 2024, setting intentions for 2025, and then raising your expectations for the new year. Okay, so Shannon's going to kick us off talking about calendar audit. And while she's explaining and going through it, I'm going to share a link in the chat. It's a podcast episode that you can copy and paste, put it in your notes on your phone or something for later. And it's where John Maxwell gives a full explanation and a worksheet of how to do a year in review. But Shannon is going to give us kind of a summary and explain how to do this.
Thank you so much, Britt. So I am super excited to just be on here with Brittany tonight talking about this. When she asked me to collaborate with her and kind of bring this to all of you together, I was like, okay, cool, this is going to be fun. And I went back. I actually have a Google Doc where I've been doing my calendar audit, but I realized that I haven't done it the last 2 years. So that was really good, just like reflection for myself. And I'm excited to actually do it and get back on track with it this year, because I feel like it is super important and just so helpful to know like what things, did you do in your year that were worth it? What wasn't worth it? What do you want more of? What do you want less of? All that kind of stuff. And it doesn't have to just be plexus. It can literally be everything: life, work, plexus, fun, all the things. I don't know if you already, maybe you don't already like put everything in a calendar. So that would be the first step, is getting yourself used to using some kind of calendar, whether it's your, iPhone and you're using the calendar, a virtual calendar, or you have one of those fancy, what are they called? Those new, I know Brittany has one of those calendars, or maybe it's a good old fashioned, notebook, or, a, an actual planner. I love this one. I always want to call it Firefox, but it's Clever Fox, right? I've been using this one for a couple years now. It's a 6 month one, and it's blank, so you can fill in the dates as you go. You can literally start it whenever. And so this just gives me a place to keep track of all the things that I'm doing. And then at the end of the year, go back and reflect on that. So what you want to do is, if you are using a calendar right now, you're going to pull up your calendar on your phone. I use that and my phone calendar. So I would sit down with both and kind of go through month by month. And what I have in my Google Doc is kind of like categories of like, okay, what is life-giving? What wasn't? So these are some questions. You can write them down. I'll say them slowly, and maybe Britt can type them into the chat for you. So some questions to reflect on as you're looking at your calendar. What was life-giving? What things were you like, this, I need to do this every month, or I need to do this every 6 months, or, this really just brought me so much joy, and stuff that you want more of. So this is like your more of category. This is, filling your cup up. What was life draining? What were you like, okay, that was not a good decision. Like, I am not going to do that in 2025. And like, what do you want less of? What was a complete waste of time where you were like, yeah, let's never do that again? Have a category for that. And also, did you have enough white space? Did you have enough, like, where you weren't doing, like, we don't want to be packing our calendars solid where you're not, like Brittany was talking about, having the time to reflect and come up with good ideas and just be able to be with yourself rather than constantly working. Did you have enough of that in 2024, or do you need to make more space for that in 2025? And then another category is something brand new. Like, what is something that you've been wanting to do that you've been putting off for years and years? Make that a category and put some fun things or new things in there, maybe things that scare you in that category to try for 2025. So those are like the main questions when you're looking at your calendar. If anybody can think of any other ones or any other things that you would want to ask while looking at your calendar, you can drop them in the chat. And another thing we always did was pick a word of the year. Again, I didn't do that last year. I don't know what my word of the year was, but some words of the year in past years were intentional, organized, and focus for me. So just like choosing a word that you want to kind of use as your focus for, 2025. What do you want to get better at? And, maybe writing that down somewhere, putting that in your calendar, putting it in your office so that you remember what that word is, and so that you're focused on that. And then I have notes and I'm gonna read them because I'm like, where? So with your new year, you want to think of things that you want to visualize as far as growth for yourself and your business, like what, and maybe pair that up with your word of the year, and see what you want your focus to be. And I think that's about it. I
Love
think
it.
that's
Thanks, Shan.
all the thoughts.
I love it. I love it. So, there's all different ways to keep track of your life, like Shannon said, whether it's, something digital, something pen and paper. I'm a big old school, like kitchen calendar person. So like, here's my calendar, and I send these to everybody. So if you're on my team, you might have got one for me, and maybe like it's not your gym at all. Alicia has hers. I love it. Okay. So here's what I do. And this is very old school, but like, I always tell my husband, like, hey, if it's important, like you write it on that kitchen calendar, or like it's not happening, right? We have 4 kids, like lots going on. I'm like, it has to be on here if you want it to happen. So when I do my calendar audit, I make it like a thing. I make a cup of tea, I get like super cozy, and I get my old calendar, right? I pulled out my 2024 calendar and I put it side by side with my 2025 calendar. and I go through and I write all the birthdays, the anniversaries, right? And what happens is as you're flipping back through the months, you're like, oh yeah, we took that trip. Oh yeah, we did that thing. Oh, we had that sourdough event. Like that was so fun. And so right next to my calendars, I have those categories that Shannon said, like more, what was life-giving? What was life-draining? What was a waste of time? What months or seasons did I not have enough white space, right? Like I'll make a note of that. Like, hey, November was too busy. Like I felt like a stress ball. We need to tone it down and have more white space next November. Like I'll make a note of that. And sometimes just more of, like, I want more of in-person events. I want more of quiet connections with people. I want more of writing thank you notes and making thank you calls. Like just as things come to your mind, you're just putting it down. Yeah, so that's how I do mine. There's a million ways you could do it, but it's really just like taking that reflection time and then setting intentions for the new year. I think pen and paper works super great. And it also just, it makes you grateful, right? To actually take the time and sit back and go through your calendar. And one thing my husband and I try to do with our kids too is we'll sit down towards the end of the year or at the beginning of the year and I'll cast my photos onto the TV and we'll just look back through the year, like quickly scroll and like stop, like, oh, remember we went to the Grand Canyon, like let's look through that real quick and kind of just see like what pictures we have on our phone and kind of relive those memories and just feel like gratitude for all the things that we got to do that year. So that's just another fun idea. But okay, that's the reflection piece where you reflect. In that, you're setting some intentions for the new year. But I did want to circle back to another really important question. So I mentioned this book, 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth. So I've been doing Plexus for 7 years. I've been Emerald for the past 4 years. This is probably my best recommendation, like as far as a book. So that I've read a lot of books. That's pretty heavy. And the reason why is when I read this at the beginning of my journey, I think I was gold, Shannon, maybe when we first read this together. That question that's asked in here, what do you really want to do? That like literally changed my life because I sat with that question, what do I really want to do? And at the time I was working in healthcare, my kids were going to private school. I sat with that question and I was like, I want to homeschool my kids. And I had no idea that that was in my heart. Like I just had never sat with that question and actually thought through like, what do we want our life to look like? What do we really want to do? And so I want to challenge you as you're thinking about the new year and your personal growth and growth in your business, ask yourself that question, like, what do I really want to do? Okay. And then a second follow-up question to that is, who do I want to be? Who do I want to be? Do you like the person that you're becoming? What areas of your character need to be worked on or shored up a bit? Because really, when we think about this journey, it is a character development journey, right? If you're going to grow with Plexus and lead a team, you have to be working on yourself. And sometimes when I think about, being diamond or growing a bigger team, it's like, okay, it's not just about what I'm doing, but it's really about who I am becoming, right? Focus on your character, focus on integrity. It's not about accomplishing, it is about becoming. The stronger your character, the stronger your growth potential will be. And Maxwell talks about that in this book too. He talks a lot about character. So my word for 2025 is humility. And I know that that is not an exciting word. It's not like one that maybe you would pick. There's nothing jazzy about it, but I really want to grow in servant leadership. I want to grow in putting the needs of others first and really connecting with my team and serving them. And so I want to grow in humility. So as you think about like word for the year, intention for the year, try to think about character, like think about that person that you want to become. And Megan had us do a good exercise one time at an event about just kind of envisioning your diamond documentary, right? Like you as a diamond, what are people saying about you? What are your kids saying? What is your spouse saying? What is your team saying? Like what character qualities do they see in you that they're calling out? That was really eye-opening for me. I'm like, wow, I'm not quite that person that I hope to be when I hit that rank, right? So it's kind of just focused on, yeah, who you're becoming. But I'm going to also give you some tools for expectation, for thinking about 2025. I'm going to, oh, Alicia, I love that that was your first in-person event. That's really special. I'm going to put a Google Doc in the chat here. This is a tool that I typed up for you guys. It has the calendar audit questions on it, and then it has some reflections and intentions that you can fill out for 2025. Now, don't type onto this Google Doc or everyone will see what you typed. So what you want to do is you want to open that and then copy and paste it into your own notes or Google Doc or whatever. Or if you want to just look at those questions and use pen and paper, you can totally do that. But feel free, this Google Doc should work for everyone to open and all of the questions will be on there. But this provides you a more in-depth year in review reflecting on your business. So there's some questions on here for reflecting back on 2024, biggest accomplishment or proudest moment in 2024. And I will just ask you guys that. Does anyone want to put in the chat their biggest accomplishment or proudest moment in 2024? If something comes to mind, pop it in the chat. Yeah, don't type in the document. Exactly. Make your own copy. But as I ask these, if something comes to mind, pop it in there. Yes, earn leader retreat. That's a huge accomplishment. I love that. You can keep popping them in as we go through, but reflecting on your proudest moment, reflecting on your biggest frustration or most disappointing moment in 2024. That's good to reflect on by yourself. You don't have to put that in the chat, but something to reflect on. The hardest lesson you learned, favorite memories, a thought that served me well this year, personal growth, aha moments that shifted your mindset. What are things that went well that you want to repeat? What didn't go well? And what did you learn from it that you don't want to repeat? What can I do differently next year? What did I avoid and why? These are like, I'm telling you, if you sit with these questions, it can be really, really powerful. When I was filling this out, I was trying to be honest with myself, right? What did I avoid? And I realized that I would make a priority list of things I said I was going to do, but then my day-to-day, here's what I'm doing, didn't reflect what I said my priorities were. That was kind of my aha moment, or like, what was I avoiding there? I set these goals and I said these were my priorities, but then my to-do list looked very different from what I said my priorities were. So that's something I want to be more aware of and intentional in 2025. So all these questions are on the sheet. One thing you want to get better at, places you want to visit and travel to. And then there is a numbers evaluation. And this is where you need to go in your virtual office and do some digging. You're going to write down your highest points month. All right. So what was the month when you had the highest points? What was your highest recruiting month? And then what were you doing 60 to 90 days before that? Right? Because when you have your highest points or your highest recruitment, it's often the work you were doing 60 to 90 days before that caused that growth, right? It's usually not, I did it right now and I got the results right now. No, you got to go back 60 to 90 days. Level ones recruited in 2024, level one silvers and above developed in 2024. These are just things you're writing down on that sheet. And you may not have like awesome numbers this year. I want to encourage you to do this exercise anyway. Don't avoid it just because you didn't land where you wanted to, right? Do the exercise, because when you look back in future years, you will see how far you've come, right? And that what was the ceiling for you in one year becomes the floor for you in another year, because you're learning, you're growing as you go. Okay, so that's the reflection piece. And then expectation, that third part of the triangle, is setting goals for 2025. So it's again on that Google Doc, setting a safe business goal and a scary business goal. Thinking about your mission statement. And then when we think about goals, right, it's not just business. We need to have family goals, financial goals, personal goals. So on the sheet, it lists those out, your mission statement for your business, your family goal, your financial goal, your personal goal. And with each of those, why is it important for me to accomplish that goal this year? Okay. So a lot of questions, a lot of this you can't do right this second, but my challenge for you and kind of your homework here is going to be to set aside at least 1 hour in the next 10, 11, 12 days, really between like now and the new year is when you want to do it. Set aside 1 hour to reflect, to do your calendar audit, and to set intentions for the new year. And as you fill out your new planner, your new calendar, whatever you're going to use, make sure you have all the important Plexus dates, right? Super Saturday weekend, convention. If you're planning on being at Emerald Extravaganza, that should be on your calendar, right? Like, you want those things to happen, then you've got to have them on your calendar or in your planner so that you know they're coming up so you can plan accordingly. So that is your homework. Not that you want homework on Christmas Eve, but sometime over the next 10 days, I really encourage you to do that. When you slow down and reflect, it gives you the energy, the creativity, the brain space that you can speed up, right? And so even though it doesn't feel like a super productive activity, it can really be one of the most important business activities that you do all year. I think that's it. Shan, did you want to add anything?
No, I think that was awesome. And if John Maxwell says it's good to do it, then we should do it because he's like thebomb.com.
Yep. Agreed. Agreed. I'm sorry, I'm just reading the chat here. Started Plexus in September. My biggest one is starting this business. Yes, absolutely, Kim. That's amazing. You've accomplished so much in just a couple of months here with Plexus, which is awesome. So that is so exciting. Okay, we're gonna let you guys go a little early so you can get back to your wrapping presents and baking gingerbread and whatever else you guys are doing. But I'm seriously so proud of you guys for hopping on. I know it's like the busiest, craziest time of year. And the fact that you're here and setting aside the time just says a lot about your mindset. And I hope this was helpful and that you guys have some good tools for reflection. So thank you guys so much and Merry Christmas. Have a great night.